What's up, everybody? It's almost NHL season, and you know what that means? It's time for fantasy hockey season as well. Me and Howin today have got for you 10 players that we think you guys should draft that we feel are way too undervalued with where they're going right now.
Very excited for fantasy hockey. I already drafted one of my teams. I'm drafting my second one pretty soon here. Just love the mock draft. I love this time of season. Everyone's excited about hockey. Love it.
Yeah, so let's get off to the start here. I'm going to start off with Tristan Jarry. Going at average pick 98 right now in ADP, this guy is going to bounce back. Last year, he was really horrible. We saw him have a 2.9 goals against and barely over a 900 save percentage. This is not what we're accustomed to from Tristan Jarry. This is a goaltender who for several years and in his career has about 2.65 goals against. He's been really dominant. He wins a lot of games. And when we're talking fantasy, you got to have someone in net who's going to win you a lot of games because that's where a lot of points come from. Whether you're in categories or in points, wins are huge. And this guy is on a team that just went and loaded up. They went and got a bunch of new players. I mean, they got Erik Karlsson there now. They got Ryan Graves in the back end and a lot of extra offense. I think this Pittsburgh team is going to win a lot of games, and Tristan Jarry will be huge for you.
Absolutely massive. This guy's going to get a lot of wins this year. I expect the Pittsburgh Penguins. We both have Pittsburgh in the season prediction to make the playoffs, whether it's a wild card or third place in the division. This team is going to be good, especially with a player like Erik Karlsson on the team who's going to shoot up, who had 100 points last season as a defenseman, which is something I've never seen in my lifetime personally. Yeah. So it's actually insane to see that. This team is playing with a better defense, like Scott alluded to. Ryan Graves especially is a huge upgrade defensively, which is going to help Tristan Jarry. Personally, I thought Tristan Jarry had a great year last year. Didn't have the best year, but he still played pretty good when he did. And the next player that we have is Evan Bouchard from the Edmonton Oilers, whose ADP is currently at 75. Now, why do I have Evan Bouchard on this list? Evan Bouchard is going to be, in my opinion, top 3 in scoring in terms of defensemen, in my opinion. This guy is playing on the top unit on the power play on the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton Oilers power play was the best in the NHL last year, and into the playoffs. Ever since they traded Tyson Barrie out of this team, this guy has been more than a point per game for the rest of the regular season, and also he was more in point per game during the playoffs. This guy is going to be getting a ton of assists, a ton of goals. He has a famous Bouch bomb. He has a hell of a clapper. I've seen it firsthand. He can shoot that puck.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with this pick 100%. This is going to be one of the defensemen this year I think is going to take the biggest possible leap of anyone in fantasy. He's going to put up a ton of points, guys. I mean, when we talk about defensemen, the most important thing we always talk about is, do they play on the power play one? And that is a lock. There is no one on this Edmonton Oilers team who is going to take away any opportunities from Evan Bouchard. This guy is going to be on there on the league's best power play by a country mile. These guys absolutely light it up, over 30% on the power play. We saw in the playoffs, this guy had like almost 1.5 points per game in the playoffs as a defenseman. That's absolutely sicko mode. This guy is absolutely going to be elite for fantasy this year, and you make sure you draft him, even if it's around early. Next up, I got Johnny Gaudreau, Mr. Johnny Hockey himself from the Columbus Blue Jackets, going at an average pick about 83 right now in drafts. For me, this is just crazy. I mean, Johnny Hockey had a terrible year last year. It was still the best guy on the Blue Jackets by a country mile, but barely over 70 points. Not really what we're accustomed to seeing from Johnny Gaudreau. I think this year is going to be way different. I'm a lot bigger on this Columbus team. They went out and they made some ads to make their team way more competitive. They got Adam Fantilli there as a young center to maybe play with him on the power play and even maybe some at regular strength. Patrick Laine is finally healthy. Johnny's going to have some guys to play with. And I think this guy, he's shown us in the past, this guy has 100-point potential. And if you can get someone with that kind of potential, even 90 points in 83rd overall position, you're laughing.
Yeah, the year before, let's not forget the year before when he played for the Calgary Flames. He had 115 points on that team. Everyone knows that this player is good. He's extremely skilled. People need to understand that when a team moves to a new team, in their first year, it's hard for the player to adjust to the new team sometimes. They take time to get acclimated to the new team, to how the new system, new coach, new city. You know what I mean? People need to account for that. And even with that, he still had 74 points last year. It's not like he was not good. He still had a good season, but I have a feeling, just like Scott alluded to, this guy's going to have a terrific season, at least 90 points. And the next player that we have on the list is Pavel Zacha from the Boston Bruins, who's at an ADP of 167 currently. Now, that's way too low for a first-line center who's going to be playing on the first-line power play. You know, this team over the offseason, they had some big moves moving on from Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. Both of these two centers have been there for a long time. It's now Pavel Zacha's position to be the number one center. Not that he's the best center in the league, but He is getting the opportunity playing with Pasternak on that first line. That is massive. Pasternak is projected to be a top 5 player in this league who scores a ton of goals. Whether he's playing with him or Brad Marchand, he's going to get a lot of top opportunities to get a lot of points.
Yeah, so this guy mainly is on this list because of opportunity, like Howin said there. It's not necessarily the player's uber talented, although he really did have a breakout year last year. If you're going to be playing with a guy like David Pasternak, even if you're playing with a guy like Marchand, you're going to put up points. And I mean, this guy going in the 160s seems criminal to me. Sure, centers, there are a lot of them, but I mean, this guy's going to get every opportunity to succeed. There's no one else to really take that spot from him. We know Charlie Coyle's not going to do it. The Boston Bruins don't really have any young players down the middle that can take this from him. This guy's going to get like 20 minutes a game, all the power play time. He's going to have all the best players in the world he could play with, and I absolutely love this pick that late. Next up, I got Matthew Barzal from the New York Islanders, going at around pick 158 right now, average draft pick. To me, this is kind of crazy. I know he hasn't replicated his rookie year where he popped off for 85 points, but this is a guy who hovers around just under a point per game, going in the 150s here. He is still the Islanders' best player. And I know this is fantasy, so necessarily doesn't mean much if you're the best player on your team if you're not putting up a lot of production. But last year, before he was hurt, Matt Barzal was looking good. He was really starting to break out. He took a long time to get his first goal, but once he did, he started to score, and we know this guy is more of a playmaker. So if you're in a league that has primarily points as your category and less reliant on stuff like shots and peripherals, Matt Barzal is your guy. This guy is still going to be a guy who's going to be around 75, 70 points this year, and going to pick 156, that's crazy.
Yeah, Matt Barzal is a player that kind of had an off year last year, and he's going to have a resurgent year. He's very motivated. Based on the preseason that I've seen, he looks extremely quick. He looks extremely healthy. He looks ready to go. He looks like he's super motivated. And we've all seen him in those deep playoff runs, how much of a factor this player is. He's just terrific. He uses the speed and as his main asset to get into those positions to score goals or dish a great assist. And let's not forget, this year in Yahoo, they added the right wing eligibility to this player. That is massive. Because before, he would just have the center role. And there's a bunch of other core centers in the Yahoo or in the NHL. But the fact that they added that really rare, sought-after right wing eligibility is huge.
Yeah, it's true. There's not a lot of right wings out there. That is a massive add.
And the next player that we have is Thatcher Demko from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, last year, he had a horrific year. Probably the worst year we've ever seen Thatcher Demko play. He did deal with some injuries there.
Yeah, he was hurt.
He was dealing with injuries. That's why his ADP is around 98 there. Spoilers alert. I actually have this player in my personal fantasy team. I'm very excited to get him. I got him in around the 7th or 8th mark in a 14-man league. So I like where he was drafted. The thing with Thatcher Demko is that he had 14 wins last year with a 3.16 goals against average, which is awful. The year before, he had 33 wins. And keep in mind, this Vancouver team should be a lot better this year.
Oh, yeah.
Way better. Elias Pettersson had a huge breakout year last year. They got Kuzmenko now, who can put up 70-some points. I expect this team, especially JT Miller, I don't expect him to have that slow start that he had last year. He's going to come out of the gate. This Vancouver team is very, very good. And and on top of that, they upgraded that defense quite a bit. So
yeah, for me, it comes down to a couple things. One, like Howin just said, the defense is a lot better. When you're a goaltender, you need to have some help. It doesn't matter how talented you are in net. You need some defensemen who are willing to block shots, box people to the outside. And I think he's going to have way less high danger chances against him this year. I think guys like Carson Soucy are really going to help, as well as the new coaching system under Rick Tocchet. I think it's way more defensively structured than it was before under Bruce Boudreau, and I think that's going to benefit Demko a lot. This is a guy that we got to remember a year ago, we were talking about as a top 5 or 6 goalie in the league, a lot of people, worst case top 10, and now it's like people have forgotten about that. But if you're getting this guy just under pick 100 right now, you got to try to get him about a round earlier than that, because this guy is going to carry, he's probably going to win 30 to 35 games. Next up, we're going to go a little lower on the list here. We're going to go down to average pick of 165 with Taylor Hall from the Chicago Blackhawks. This is going to be Taylor Hall's first year as a Chicago Blackhawk. But you know what? Even though it's a bad team, unless you're in a league that really punishes plus minus. This guy is a pick to look at. He's going to be playing with Connor Bedard like 100%. He is the most established veteran player on this team who has had success offensively. And playing with a guy as generational as Connor Bedard, this guy is going to put up a lot of points. We've already seen it in the preseason. These two together have unreal chemistry already from day one. This guy has always been a pretty good passer. I mean, we've seen him at his prime win a Hart Trophy. And I mean, pick 165. That's crazy, especially for like a left wing like that you can get late that can add so much. He also shoots a decent amount, not as much as maybe some of these other big name players, but when you're getting a guy that low, it's a total win.
Yeah, there's no one in the league as lucky as Taylor Hall, who had been around the league and played with all these superstars across the league. He played with Jack Hughes when he came in the league.
All the first overall picks.
All the first overall pick, Jack Eichel in Buffalo. Like, he played with all these crazy players. David Pasternak in Boston. Like, no one has played with better players than this guy. More studs than Taylor Hall. So he's been around for a long time. And he knows he has a lot of experience playing with players that just got drafted. Especially with Connor McDavid when he was playing on the Oilers. Yeah, this guy is going to pop off. This guy has speed. And let's not forget in the Boston playoff run, he was the best player in terms of the forward. He was the best player in terms of production. He got the most points out of all Boston Bruins players. He was just the best Boston Bruins player in that playoff run against the Florida Panthers. So it's a shame that they moved on from him. I understand why, but Taylor Hall is going to be great with Connor Bedard. But Connor Bedard is going to have a great year as well. But Taylor Hall is going to benefit from that.
Yeah, 100%. Last time we saw Taylor Hall, this guy put up 8 points in 7 games, playing on like the third line for Boston. He's still got a lot in the tank.
And the next player we have on the list is Jonathan Hubero from the Calgary Flames with an ADP of 123. Now that's, to me, is way too low for a player like this. I know he had a terrible season last year. He only had 55 points last season. But this guy is in the similar boat to Johnny Gaudreau. This guy just went to Calgary from Florida. Imagine moving from Florida to Calgary. The change that you have to go through in that 1 year off ice is massive. Going from Florida, a hot state, to Canada is massive. So you gotta give this guy at least 1 year to adjust to the new team. And of course, the coach I was playing for, Daryl Sutter, just wasn't giving him the benefit of the doubt playing under his system. Daryl Sutter clearly didn't like this player when he was playing for him. But they're going to have a new coach, new system. I think Jonathan Huberdeau will open up a lot more. I think he's a lot happier now. This guy, let's not forget, this guy had 115 points the year before and for Florida Panthers. This guy is very capable of putting up points.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's wild that this guy was top 3 in NHL scoring a couple years ago, but he had like the biggest drop off in NHL history from one season to the next. That's not going to happen again. Like Howin said, it takes time to get accustomed to a change that big. And I mean, the whole Flames team struggled a lot. I don't expect it to happen again. Huberdeau is just way too talented of a player. If it was a 1 year where he put up like 100 points and he had nothing like that in his career, I'd say, okay, maybe not. But this guy has been elite for a long time. We're talking like 5-6 years of absolutely elite production, over a point per game. And I fully would be shocked out of my mind if he doesn't break 80 points this year. This guy is going to come back with a huge resurgence. The only downside, I guess you could say, is that he's never been a great goal scorer. But if you're getting a lot of points from assists still, he is still worth it, especially at pick 123. This guy's probably going to get 55 assists. Alrighty, and moving down the list a little bit more, somewhere in a little bit for deeper drafts here, I got Lucas Raymond, going average pick 165. As a rookie, we saw how good Lucas Raymond was, guys. This guy was nominated for the Calder, absolute superstar, played so good for Detroit. Last year, he kind of had a bit of a fallback, sophomore slump. We've seen it before like 100 times. To me, it's not really a surprise, and I'm not really worried about it at all. This guy is way too talented with the puck. He is an outstanding playmaker, and he kind of showed he can score sometimes like last year. So I'm not really worried about this guy at all. And now he's getting the best line mates he's had since he's been in the NHL. He's likely going to be on a first line where they stack it up with Alex DeBrincat and Dylan Larkin. And what I love about this compliment is that the chemistry is going to be just so perfect. This guy loves to control the play and be a passer, and DeBrincat loves to shoot and finish. So I think this is going to be a match made in heaven, and I think Lucas Raymond is going to have career high totals this year for points.
I hope so, because I have him on my team as well. And this player, I got him very, very late in the 200s, actually, even in my personal draft. So this guy's going low in some of the leagues out there, and you better scoop him up before it's too late. This player is really, really good. Like Scott said, terrific playmaker. He had a down year. I don't expect him to have a down year this year. I think he is motivated. This is contract year. Let's not forget. This is a contract. Usually players are very motivated in contract years, and he will probably should light it up with the guys like DeBrincat, who's the pure goal scorer. And finally, the last player to close off, we got Zack Rinne, averaged at 160. You know, this is a little low for a top defenseman in my opinion. He is playing on a much improved Columbus team, and I understand why his average pick drop is because he didn't play last year. He was barely playing at all last year. So Columbus just became a much better team with him back on the roster, and then on top of that they added Provorov. So Provorov is going to be the guy that's going to be be doing all the defensive work. But the thing is that Zack Rinne, like Scott alluded to, he will be the #1 power play specialist, which is the most important thing in fantasy hockey. He's going to get all the opportunity to get points, whether it's assists or goals, shots on goals, hits, blocks. This guy does it all.
Yeah, so what I really like about Zack Rinne is his ability to score. You don't have many defensemen that score a lot of goals, and Zack Rinne has scored 20 goals before. For a defenseman, that's like pretty rare. Like you see maybe 2 or 3 defensemen do it all like any year, a given year. He's going to be back on the power play 1 after missing pretty much all of last year. We saw how much Columbus struggled without him on that power play. From year to year, it was a massive drop off. I mean, they tried other guys there like Boquist and it didn't work, and like Jake Bean, it didn't work. But I mean, like obviously we've seen Werenski in the past, and I think that's going to completely up Columbus's power play. And I mean, that's more power play points for you, more shots, more goals and assists. Like, I mean, this guy's just such a value this late in the draft at pick 160. It's honestly kind of insane. And like Howin said, there's not really anyone to take this job from him. Guys like Provorov and Severson are probably going to be on the PP2. Like, it's a pretty big gap from the Werenski there, especially offensively. And this guy does block shots too. Not necessarily the biggest hitter if you're looking for peripherals, but for pure scoring wise and for points, he's really solid. But guys, that concludes our 10 undervalued players for you guys to look for in your drafts. If you guys like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. And also leave in the comments below who you think is an absolute steal and very undervalued this year in your opinion. And until next time, take care and have a great day.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.